Hello, everyone, GM. Welcome back to another episode of the Humans of Developer DAO podcast. Today, we'll be joined by Billy, and he'll be giving us a deep dive into his life, what he's up to with Developer DAO. And so, in this podcast, Billy, thank you so much for joining us. In this podcast, we love to pass the mic off to you. Rather than me giving an intro, rather to pass it off to you for you to tell us a little bit more about you, share your story, and anything interesting you're up to.
Got it. Yeah, thank you for having me. So everybody kind of knows me on Discord through Billy Jitsu. If you follow me on Twitter, it's probably Puppy Billy. I'll have a story on that in a little bit. But yeah, I'm a developer in the space. I just ship as much as I can. I'm kind of obsessed with the space right now, at least the crypto space, or what they call Web3. And as crazy as it sounds, 2 years ago, I didn't know how to code. So I kind of grinded that, from not knowing really anything, having no guidance, into just, where I am today. And it probably wasn't the most healthiest way to do that, but I did it. And, I'm lo and behold, I got part of Developer DAO, and we'll definitely get into that, of how I kind of discovered that. But now I am sitting as a community manager, and I'm trying to make some waves. I'm trying to bring back those old vibes that we used to have in the beginning. People sharing screens, people shipping, people building, getting connected, getting new jobs every other day. With the noise going away, I'm hoping to bring back more of that shipping mentality, getting those vibes, and make some adjustments for sure.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. So I want to dig into what you just said right away, that you actually started this whole journey without knowing how to code. So can you tell us a little bit more about what made you want to get into it? What was your past life prior to this whole web?
For sure. Yeah. So once upon a time, it's been a long time, probably 22 years ago, I graduated as a computer engineer. So I had learned Java and C, and I haven't used it since. So we're talking since 2002. I haven't coded, right? And so I got a job as an engineer doing something stupid. It was boring. Market was crashing, and I saw all these engineers just getting fired left and right. I'm like, yo, this ain't for me, right? These guys are putting in hard work, and they're just getting let go just because the stock is down. That could be me in 5 years, right? So I ended up just quitting and not really working for a year, doing some soul searching. I was is this really what I want to do? And I ended up working at a retail store, and I wanted a discount on a TV at the time, so I had to work till 3 months. So I said, all right, let me work out. And so they put me in the computer section, and randomly this one guy had a problem. This was pre-Geek Squad, all that other stuff out there. So I'm let me just fix it right here on the spot. And the dude was man, that was awesome. Can you fix my business? And then we did that in his business. And then this next door neighbor called me, hey, I have problems on my computer too. And so I'll be there tomorrow. And literally the phone calls never stopped. And so that became my business, and struggling how to form a business and get that going and dealing with all the ins and outs. That put a roof over my head and help get me going. And then in 2017, I discovered crypto. I had heard about it, but never really paid attention. Just in the tech world. And I was let me invest, right? I went in for financial. Let me get in there. Let me get some Bitcoin. I think about some Litecoin, a whole bunch of other junk that's garbage, right? And I went through the 2018 crash, and that was rough, right? Because I had told people let's invest, and I got all those phone calls and saying, why is it falling? Why is it crashing? Why is it doing all this? And I felt I'm never going to tell anybody about crypto again. Right? You feel bad because people lose money. When you lose it, it's not bad, but when other people lose it because of you, it's the worst feeling in the world. And so I went low-key for a little bit, and then 2020 came around when we had the pandemic. I had a lot of free time in my hands. So I was all right, let me start messing around. Uniswap was blowing up. SushiSwap, we had DeFi summer. And I was dude, all this money, look at all this missed opportunities I had in the very beginning. And I was waiting for this platform to come out on what is Gnosis Chain now, but was XDAI back then. They kept delaying and delaying and delaying. And I'm man, I'm going to build it myself. Literally, that was what the thought in my head. I'm going to build this shit myself because everybody's taking too long. How hard could it be? Not knowing how difficult it really could be. I was all right, let me look it up. Where do I learn how to do the programming? So crypto zombies. Everybody says crypto zombies on Reddit and everywhere. Crypto zombies. All right, I did it. I had no idea what I was doing. I did it the first time. I was all right, well, I still don't know what I'm doing. So I ended up doing 20,000 times more to all right, I finally get it. And then it was like, now what? Right? I had no direction. Like I had known I know the developers that were working on it, but they're too busy to help some random person. Hey, I'm trying to learn how to code when they're trying to build this big old platform, right? So like, they're not answering my DMs, they're not doing anything. So I didn't really have any direction. So I started looking at YouTube videos. And YouTube videos without any premise is all over the place, right? I wasted weeks of time, literally weeks of time trying to make sense of certain things, and it just didn't work. Some stuff was too advanced. They were using language I never heard of. And then I think I found, what is that guy's name? It's like Blockchain University or something like that. And he was doing some basic token stuff, and I was like, all right, I'm starting to get it. I didn't know anything about NPM packages or version packages. So we started with Ganache. I'm like, all right, I'm getting my chops ready, and I'm feeling a little bit better about it. And I tried to do my own token, and then I realized that the version only stops at like Solidity 5, and then we're at Solidity 7 at the time. So I'm like, well, now what, right? Who do I ask? It's like, if I have to sign up for this boot camp, and I was like, man, $500 for this and that. I don't really have that kind of disposable income because it's all in crypto anyway. So I'm like, all right, there's got to be another place. So I just kept searching and wasting time. And then I found like Nader David's tutorial that actually connected a front end to the back end. And I was like, whoa, what's this? Because I don't even know what a front end is. Like, that language is all new to me. I'm like, what's that? It's just a website. My knowledge of learning websites was basically making a website on Square. And that was pretty much it. So I had no idea what Ethers was or Web3 or any of that stuff. I just kind of just went with the flow. Like, it's all on the chain. It's all on chain. And that was like, oh man, finally someone that made a video, made a blog so I can like watch along. Because with videos, you kind of just watch and you're not coding. And then it all makes sense to you while you're watching it. But then when you're trying to do it, you're like, you know. So when he had that blog and piece by piece with the videos, it all started to click. I'm like, oh, that's how I can do something. Oh, I got to use hard hat because I had been all over the place. I was using, Ganache at the time, which was, what is that other framework? But anyways, I ended up using hard hat. And that became the standard because I'm looking for tutorials. And then all these tutorials were using like a different build and like all these different versions, and all the new ones started using hard hat. It's like, all right, I'm going to use hard hat. So that's how I became.
As you're explaining this, by the way, my mind is exploding. My mind right now is just like exploding because the matter of time that like, you know, for anyone watching too, if you know Billy, this might be a new story to you because it is a new story to me. The fact that like you're discovering all these NPM packages, you're like going through hard hat. We've had a call earlier or just like end of last week. But you were like an expert, like a pro at like navigating the whole system. Yeah. So for you to tell me that like just, I don't know, a year, maybe like less than a year ago, you were still navigating, it's pretty mind boggling.
Yeah. It'll be like 2 years, like mid-April, like April 20 something is when I picked up that crypto zombies.
That's really awesome.
So like I just kept like, as things made sense, like it started building more. So I was like, all right, I felt a little bit more with Solidity. And then I ended up like, you know, long story short was like, trying to like be part of this project to create this NFT thing, and everybody bailed, right? And so kind of was like I wanted to be the junior developer doing all the grunt work for the seniors or whatever. Well, then I became the senior. So I was like, well, okay. And so that put a lot of stress on me. I had like just done, you know, a couple courses on YouTube, you know, and I was like, yeah, let me help out and try to learn what's going on. And then it all kind of got dumped on me. It's like, well, how do I do this? And you know, everybody was using the HashSlips one at the time, so I kind of based it off that and figured it out. But there was just way more stuff to it. And then like the front end developer had to step away, and we couldn't find another one, so I had to learn front end. So I had to learn React, I had to learn CSS, I had to learn HTML, like all of it. Like I had to learn it in like a month and a half roughly to get this all figured out. Yeah. So I had no idea what I was doing. I just wanted to deploy and ship. And I had a sidestep. All right, let me learn JavaScript. All right, well, I have to learn React. Okay, but then it looks like shit, so I got to learn CSS. Well, then how come I don't understand all this HTML? So I literally had to like sidetrack everything I was trying to do to get the basics going on. Like everybody says, start HTML, learn how to make a website, get into blockchain. I did the opposite. Everything they tell you to do, I did the reverse. So it made my life like horrible. So I bought like a bunch of Udemy courses, and I actually completed them. I actually bought them in that. So,
pretty good.
That's a secret, guys. But I ended up finally shipping. We did it. We shipped it. I learned so much about it because I did it on an obscure chain, right? It wasn't on Ethereum mainnet. It was like on XI chain, which didn't even have an Etherscan. It had something called Block Scout. So I didn't even know how to verify something. It didn't have API keys. They just give you a straight link. You know, I almost bought like a quick node like service provider because I didn't know how to deploy onto that chain. And it's, oh yeah, just use quick node. But really all you had to do was use the link. But all the tutorials out there always say, oh, put your API over here. So I'm trying to follow these tutorials, and it works nothing like the tutorial. So I'm like, it really forced me to learn a lot of scope and understanding of how blockchain works and how it connects. Yeah. And I kind of learned it by trial by fire. I got thrown into the deep end and survived, right? And it was great, but I was like, give me a fucking break too. You know? Like everything, like I had to verify a contract. I couldn't use the Etherscan plugin because there was no Etherscan. I couldn't flatten it because it wasn't working with the flattener. So I had to learn how to use Sourcify. And then that, you know, that marketplace didn't support certain things. So I had to use like this wearable royalty system that they did. Like it was just like, and a lot of people just assumed I knew it. Oh yeah, just hit this library. I'm like, what are you talking about? You know, like, what do I need to do? Like, how do I do this? Like, it made no sense to me. But I had to like sit there and grind. So every moment of time that I had available that was free time, it was spent in front of the machine, like coded over. And I always thought like a joke around, like Ninja Turtle, you know?
Yeah. So you're telling me that this whole time, as you're going through the whole thing, you had like an actual job during the day, and this is all taking place at night?
Yes. So like I literally run my own business. I have my own IT consulting. Remember, like the whole computer thing, like that's still my thing, right? So I still have to like run my business and do it. So as soon as I get home, like it's literally on my man. I'm working. I'm like, damn, how come I can't verify this? Or how come this website's giving me this error? Like literally while I'm working. So it's like on every waking moment that I have, I'm just thinking about it. And so like after hours, I'm just doing it into the night. And wifey's getting a little bit mad too. It's like, hey, you know, you're chilling to me. Like, what are you doing? But I'm like, I just got to get this done. Got to get it done to the point where like my back was hurting because I'm like crunched over, focusing in this focus mode for hours and hours. That like I would like lean back and it would just like crack and it would just be so sore. I'd be trying to like lay down in bed and it'd just be like cramping. And it was like that for like 3-4 months until we deployed, right? And we shipped it. We shipped it. Like, man, like, I can't believe I did it. We did it with the airdrop. We did it with like a hidden reveal.
Can you tell us the name of it? So like, you know, plug it in the description.
What happened?
Can you share the name? What was it called?
It was the NFBs project. Yeah. It was very difficult. Yeah. It was like a group of 16 artists that had to do different art. We went really all out. Like we got different artists to do different pieces of it. And then we actually animated it. And then because of the size of it, when we were doing like GIFs or GIFs, it was way too big to load because we didn't have a dedicated IPFS server. So we had to figure a way to optimize it. Yeah. And then I had to figure out how to learn how to do APNGs and then convert GIFs to MP. Like I learned about all these formats and things that I'm like it was too much. I don't recommend it. But now everything that I know that 4 months can be done in like a week, right? Like it's just experience in getting in the game. Yeah. I just did it like way too hard. And then from there, you know, when you deploy, it was like, am I getting it hacked? Are people going to like it? Like, is there something that's going to break? Did I test it enough? You know, it's just always that worrisome feeling of like, anytime you deploy something, you know, to production, there's always that worrisome. Yeah. And luckily everything passed and it did it. I actually paid another developer to overlook it and do stuff. I try to do it as responsible as possible, but you know, when they're telling me stuff, oh, fix this. And then they say, I got a dip. I'm like, well, I don't know how to fix it. So, you know, there's a lot of spending time of like looking up words. And they tell you to Google it, right? Mm-hmm. But if you don't know the words to ask or how to ask it, it's like it doesn't help you at all. I'm like, you know, I want to send a payment through Ethers and you look at all these tutorials and all this, how to connect your front end to your back end and everything. And they give you these dumb examples, but they don't tell you what you need to know. They give you the very, very basic. They give you the appetizer. And they're like, all right, cool, follow my next tutorial or whatever. And I'm like, okay, that's not what I needed to know. Yeah. And it's like rinse and repeat for every tutorial was always never what I needed to know. And then I had to go through docs, and everybody knows how to read, you know, how horrible docs can be. Yeah. And it's just a matter of playing and wasting so much time versus someone saying, hey, just do that, you know? Like, you know,
So I want to relate to that so much. And the main thing that like triggers automatically in my head is the evolution of just this past year,
Yeah.
or even like last year, and you see that, you know, tutorial that you're like referring to, like how to deploy, like or connect the front end to the back end, how to use ethers. It's like 2 weeks old, but this blog now is like irrelevant. Right. That's like the most frustrating thing about Web3, and the fact that I was like laughing about this just the other day, but we intentionally put ourselves through pain.
Yeah.
Because we're choosing to kind of go through all these different issues of like everything's outdated. You don't know if Solidity 5 is going to work with Solidity 7. You don't know why and like who to ask. And then that might cause so many more delays. So it's really interesting to see that you went through that process, but on top of it, you had a whole full-time company that you're running during the day. Yeah. And you're still doing that now, even through, and you're still in the space, right? So that like clearly shows that's really awesome.
I vibe in chaos, I guess. Like, diamonds are made under pressure, and like there's a lot of diamonds right now.
There's a lot of pressure.
Yeah. So like,
so go ahead.
Oh no, I was gonna say like that, like segueing into like community management. You know, I didn't even think I was gonna win the thing. I'm like, you know what? Why not? You know, let me put my name out there, see if people vibe with me. You know, I'm in the VC5 chat. You know, I meet with people. I'm fairly social. Let's see what people think, and lo and behold, I made the cut, right? So, like, the one thing that I can bring as a business person, someone that's been running their business for like 20 years, is I've dealt with like all the the miscommunications. I've dealt with the different personalities of tech people. I've dealt with running a project from A to Z and like all the problems that happen in between. So I kind of know, like, okay, when I walked into the business, I was like, well, who's doing what? Where's the accountability? Where do we need? And then I've worked as an employee and as an employer. And those are two different, types of mentalities, right? Employers take a lot of risk and they want to have low costs. Employees, want to feel like they are valued and they want to get paid right. But then they also have sometimes a sense of, entitlement. And, and as the employer, you're like, hey, I'm taking all the risk. You're getting paid whether there's work or not. So there's a lot of balances, and I see both sides of that. And so, like, I think that experience of being able to talk to the community and talk to the people that are making initiatives happen, I can kind of be the voice of the community that sounds like reason. And, the community wants to build, right? Like that's what it is. And I just happen to want to be obsessed with building. And so, if you know me, I'm in a hackathon. I just did a hackathon this weekend. And then while we were doing the award ceremony, I got a call from some other developers like, hey, are you free? Because we have a hackathon. I'm like, well, let's do it. So I'm like constantly involved with building, and I'm trying to stay up on the tech. I love it. I live in the space. I think like this technology is so cool. Like it really gives a lot of opportunity for a lot of people. Like where else in the world could you literally borrow $10 million for like 12 seconds, do whatever you want with it, and then give it back, right? Like there is nothing like that in the world, right? And so being able to utilize those type of things is what's really going to set a lot of things apart. That's kind of one of the things.
Can you share with us like what makes you want to be in the space, especially as a developer now joining us? Like, we're talking about two different parts here, right? Like we're talking about Web3, why you want to even stay in the space, and then number two is like Developer DAO, right? Like there's a lot of people that kind of go in and out. Everyone has their own priorities, but clearly you made it one of your priorities because you saw that like there's value to it. So I just want to tap into that. Like what value did you see in it? Like why do you want to continue being part of it?
Oh, I mean, the whole point for me to crypto, if I were to put it down in like a single sentence, is getting rid of the middleman, right? And anywhere in life, someone's always in your pocket. They're taxing you or service providing you or doing anything. Everybody's always taking out, a little bit from your pocket. And if you can remove that and just have, direct you to consumer, like that's so empowering, right? And you can do whatever you want with your money. No one tells you, you can only withdraw $10,000 a day. You can do $1 million or whatever you want. And that's truly empowering for anybody because I don't have to wait for a bank account. I can do it instantly. I can send money, back and forth within the world, and it can be automated. And I think that's amazing. But really what drew me into Developer DAO, honestly, was the people, right? And when I first went in there, it was chaos. I had no idea. It was like channels everywhere. I didn't know who to ask. Everybody was using language that was way beyond me at the time. Again, like this is when I first started coding, so it was all very intimidating for me. And it was a lot of people doing a lot of things at the same time, so it was very chaotic. All these different ideas, all these different channels, and like, where can I align with? And I didn't have a good path to go with, so I really didn't participate much. I'm like literally one of the first holders of the NFT, and it wasn't until Web3Con came around that I said, "Oh man, there's a hackathon going on. Let me give it a shot." And then, as they were making teams, I didn't have a team, and we were looking around, and they said, form up some teams, and everybody, it was Nathan, I think he was one really active person in Developer DAO at the time. He was like a front-end developer, and, I was like, let me do the Solidity, and then we picked up 2 more people, and we were all really cool. We really vibed really well. Like, it was a really, really good team. Probably like one of my favorite early hackathon teams. Like, we just vibed. And like, literally, he influenced me to use Tailwind and Next.js, because I'm like, I'm using React, and I'm using, I think it was Style Components at the time. And
oh, wow, okay.
He's like, yeah, just use Tailwind, and like, check this out, you can do it inline. I'm like, oh shit, I'm sold, right? And there was another front end guy who's like, oh yeah, I use Tailwind too. I'm like, well, that's what the pros are doing, I'm going to do that too. So literally, it was that hackathon that influenced me to go that direction for that. And it was just like, man, these guys at Developer DAO are really cool. Let me go back and like start interacting again. And this was the early days of EC5 where Waxy was championing that. He was always sharing his screen, and he was just always building something, experimenting with something. And every time I would go in it, I'd see Waxy there, and he was just always building. And so like, let me see what's going on. And that's the time when Wagny was dropping out with the new libraries. Mm-hmm. And it was like, oh man, because I only really know how to use ethers.js, and it was pretty much MetaMask. But it's like, I kept getting complaints, how come I can't use Wallet Connect with this site? How come I can't use whatever? I'm like, and learning these tutorials, like in Wallet Connect directly, hooks and all these other things, it didn't make sense. And at that same time, we were transitioning with React 17 to 18, so all the open source libraries were basically broken. And so every time I was trying to download a version of React, right, because I didn't know versions, so I didn't know how to go back, I'm like, wait a minute, this doesn't work, this tutorial doesn't work, and I have no idea what I'm doing. And it really wasn't until Waxy started showing me, hey, if you do this, and he was showing me, like with Wagny, the first 2 times it didn't click, but he was so patient. I was like, oh yeah, you're having problems, let me show you this other thing. And then he was showing me the repos. I'm like, man, that like 1 hour saved me weeks. That one moment right there. And that was like when I was hooked. I'm like, damn, and it became that place to go to where like everybody was sharing information, debugging, building, shipping, and that's what really drew me into Developer DAO. And then, a lot of people came and left, people got jobs, and then like leveraged Developer DAO to get themselves in a position. But during that, we made a lot of contacts, and, a lot of people came back, and the market eventually kind of slowed down a little bit. We got a big crash. People were chilling, they're not so chaotic. And some people started coming back and vibing again. We're tying up Phil and Ropax. And a lot of the people that we see normally in BC5 that were just like so welcoming. Like, everybody's so cool that we know, like, we can have a good time, we can chat, and then like 20 minutes later we're sharing a screen and we're building something, we're debugging something. That was the vibe that really drew me in. And I was like, man, we got to keep this going. And then, the whole drama with season 1 was, a bad taste, because there's a lot of, money, code, and all that stuff. It causes problems, right? And it definitely caused a lot of different issues and different feelings within the DAO. And a lot of people were hanging around to cash out. I'm going to keep it 100, and like that really gave a big dent to the DAO of like, who's doing what, who's getting paid. And it's like, all right, let's start over, season 2, right? Everybody has new ideas. Let's redraw everything on the board, have a new plan, and that's kind of like where everybody came in, and that's where I came in, right? Like, as a community manager, one of 3 to try different ideas. And the number one thing is, like, I did a survey. The first thing I did was, let's do a survey. What do you guys want from Developer DAO? Why do you want to join Developer DAO? And the number one thing was to build, and the second one was community, right? Everybody wants to hang out. So I'm like, man, no better feeling than that old VC5 vibe. Everybody was just sharing screen and debugging. So, as of today, gathering of like who does what silo, what's going on. Like, the biggest problem in any DAO is communications, right? Nobody knows what this team is doing. Nobody knows what everybody's doing. And things just happen, things just change, and everybody's mad. Like, wait a minute, I used to go here, now it's not. It's like everything was chaotic for a little bit. And now we have a little bit of stability. And I'm trying to be that communications channel. Like, all right, well, you guys could kind of work in unison because you're working in parallel with each other. So, you're working on this project, you're working on this project. It would work if you guys just did this together. right? And so I'm trying to like get that all together, and in a sense, bring the community back to build. Right? There's all these hackathons. There's ETH Global hackathons. There's Code hackathons. We shouldn't have problems finding a team, right? Like when you're at school and you're with your friends at school and they say, "Oh, pair up," you're already thinking who is going to be on your team, right? So I want that for Developer DAO. Like you've been debugging together, you've been flowing together. You should be able to know what everybody's, what strengths are, what they can help on. And, a hackathon really shows your weakness. And then sometimes, people work and sometimes people don't. I've had hackathons where like, it was great, but I wouldn't do another one again with you because it just didn't flow right. And then you have other hackathons where like, man, we were just on fire. We were just like, oh, I took care of this, I took care of this. And like things just work, right? And that you don't know that until you actually do something. So I like that debugging system. And so, thinking of like, well, community always gets mad. We have workshops coming in, we have sponsors coming in, and those are great. But the biggest problem is, I feel like, and I'm gonna brag on the DevRels right here because this is again a number one issue, is it doesn't really make me want to go view that, right? Like I don't care if I learn how to make a token drop, like I already know how to do that. So why should I watch it, right? So I'm trying to like get in the communications channel of like, show me something that I want to know about your platform or about your tool. Show me something new that is going to be awesome that I want to build on. So I'm going to be, get on there. Can I go to your repo, fork it, and be able to ship it without any adjustments or any headaches? That's the number one thing,
that's key.
Right?
Yeah.
And so that is going to be like a certain quality assurance that I want to have for the community because the community has already said, I don't want to see that anymore, right? We've already seen NFT projects. We've already seen token projects. I've already seen marketplaces. I can do that on Third Web, right? So it's like, bring me something new. Show me how to interface or show me how to do something. So I'm going to try to bring up that standard where everybody's trying to level up, and be like me. I want to learn it too, right? Like I'm constantly trying to learn new libraries. I'm constantly trying to learn new applications, SDKs. So, there's a lot of people who have a lot of skill strengths in a lot of different places. So I'm trying to get like, show us your strength. Let's compensate you. You took the time to learn it. Well, you can kind of get a little compensation over here if you share your knowledge, right? For a long time, I had a hard hat setup that every time I had to switch to Polygon or Arbitrum or anywhere else, I had to change my API to that, Etherscan API plugin. But little did I know, there's actually a place where you can have all your them listed and you can just choose them on the fly. And I still don't know how to do that. Like, I looked at the tutorial and I'm like, all right, well, it takes me to like halfway to the bridge. And it's all right, good luck. I'm like, where's the other half? So I would love that to have, this initiative. I know you and Prince are having it, but like getting these starter kits ready to go, where it's not your basic starter kit. It's something that has a whole tool set that's just going to make your life easier, and you can explain it, and you can read it, and you can go from A to Z, and you can ship, and like it just works like that. It's insane. Like why isn't that the standard, right? Like did someone like write it really quick? And it's all right, cool. I got my KPI, and I got to go to the next tutorial, or whatever. And then you leave so many holes and gaps. And then 3 weeks later, it's outdated, and no one's updating it because you already got your cloud. And I'm like, no. So like, that's going to be the kind of quality control that I'm going to try to bring to the DAO. It's like, all right, developers, if you want to learn how to develop, what better place than Developer DAO, right? It's in the name, right? So that's literally
the one thing I want to mention too, right? I just like hearing, obviously like I know you pretty well, but just like hearing the story again, it's really interesting to see that you went from starting off as a junior dev in the space at least, becoming like the senior dev / like CTO of like this whole cool project. You're recognizing all these issues in the space, but you still were willing to kind of get started and keep going. And you end up going to so many different hackathons. But then you see this like now transition that you're doing to being like reflecting back into your whole journey and saying like, dude, there's so many issues that need to be solved. I'm going to take charge and do it. So I think that's something I want to like give like kudos to you for doing that. Like hats off, because you're saying that like you recognize all these issues that like we all face in space. And it's so easy to say that like there are issues. And like the starter kits, like the community management, like just being able to say that like these are things that need to be solved. There are ways to solve it, and then you're the one to say that I'm going to do it. Really makes a huge difference on like how not just like a DAO, but like the whole space is going to go. Because you're being honest about like a lot of the things, like you talked about like the code tokens and just talking about like things that need to be maintained of actually like projects and keeping it going. And I'm just reiterating everything you said, but honestly, like it actually like is perfect.
Yeah. Well, I believe in accountability, right? Like if someone's slipping, call them out. You know, like I'm not the one that like I'm respectful, but I don't tippy toe. Like if something's not up to par, I'm like, hey, you know, you got to have some accountability. If I slip up, everybody should be calling me out and ragging on me. Like Billy just whack, you know, whatever. So like, you know, if you're not updating your repo and we put it on like, you know, the Dev DAO repo, then it's going to go away. Like you didn't update it, dude, you know, and people are having problems with it. We got a bunch of complaints. We gave you some warnings, you know, maybe use it to get cloud to leverage something, but now we got to remove it, you know, and you know, there's going to be a process. Nobody likes surprises, right? Like nobody likes that unexpected bill, you know, after dinner or something like that. So we definitely want to have a clear communications channel. And that, I think that's the biggest strength over anything of like experience is communication. People miscommunicate all the time. Developers, tech, they're not very good at communicating, right? Sometimes you look at docs and like, this is a 10-year engineer. Oh yeah, just do this and you're good. I'm like, I have no idea, right? So maybe DevRels are going to hate me, but I'm going to try to make them step up their game in communication of like, yeah, cool token project, cool. And that's good. We should have that for anybody that's just starting. But what else can I do with this? Like, you gave me the appetizer. Where's the meal, right? Where I can actually ship product. Because the number one thing, people want them to use your platform. They want you to use the SDK. But if you're going to make it hard for me to do this and I have to sit 2 hours of docs, or I have to wait for an office hours, or I have to do this and this to get started, I'm not going to do it, right? Unless I'm really, really into it. So, like, you're losing a lot of junior developers being able to experiment with your stuff because you just made it really difficult, or you forgot to update your docs, or you know, or there was an update that you forgot to put on. Like that's a DevRel's job, right? Like to make sure those things are up to date and the developers are actually having a good time developing. And then instead of focusing on errors or trying to get something to work, they can start using ideas to create something brand new, right? And then, you know, maybe do a awesome DApp that you never would have thought of, but they can't even get to that part or even make anything of it because they can't compile the first tutorial. You just lost it. You lost developers, right? So
absolutely,
that's what I'm trying to like hopefully clear up, bring in, make sure that standard is happening for anything that comes into the DAO. You know, I mean, everybody's going to do what they're going to do outside, but you know, how many people show up to you know, a token here, how to make a token workshop, right? It's like I already know how to do that, and it has no interest to me whatsoever. So maybe I'll look at the repo, maybe there's something, but I'm not going to show up to that. And then that looks bad because, you know, this DevRel or this representative is trying to show a whole bunch of people, and then 3 people show up. It's like, well, maybe it's not us, maybe it's you. You know? You're not selling it right. You know, maybe you're not teaching us anything new that interests us. Maybe you're just giving us the same old stuff, and that doesn't work anymore. So
and keeping that honesty going, right? Because that's what really matters kind of going forward. Yeah,
definitely. So you know, I'm gonna be that guy that. Oh, well, I'm going to try to be that guy that gives that clearance of like, all right, that sounds pretty cool. Or like, let's twist it this way. Let's, you know, instead of, you know, doing the token drop, maybe you create a faucet with some kind of interface where now people that want to learn how to create their code, because, you know, a lot of people don't know how to make their own token, right? And then what they do is they mint it out and say, hey, DM me for, you know, some tokens. But well, now just create a faucet, right? And that everybody go claim them themselves. Use your own gas if you want that token, right? So I'm not wasting gas. So like, all right, well then how do I, you know, secure that faucet? Now we're talking a little about security. And now you got people's attention. Oh, what's the best way to lock it down? You know, there's going to be Sybil attacks because, you know, whatever. But you're consciously thinking of not just creating a project, but having a little bit of security or best practices in mind. That's something that catching my attention. Oh, maybe I'll learn something from here that will, you know, make me spark some ideas for my own projects. You know, token I feel comfortable with, but maybe they're going to teach me something new or something, a way to optimize or save gas on that same project. Then we have something that is very interesting to me because now I'm going to tune in. And if you do something like that, I think more people will tune into the workshops. More people will actually build off your workshop into something that might be something cooler that they'll use for their, you know, profile or anything like that. So I think that's where we need to go.
Yeah, 100%. I think what you touched on too is really important because I think just based on what you said and reflecting on my experiences too is that now the devs that are still here in the space are to a level that the beginner stuff isn't really as needed, right? Gotcha. Now it's like, okay, like let's level up to the next phase. And, you know, speaking from like both of our experiences, like building a token is awesome, but now it's like when you've done it like a couple times or you can use something like Third Web, you don't need that necessity of actually building it out again. It's like, hey, what's next? And that's the part that like just needs to be, I don't know, pushed off and just like figure it out. But
yeah, it's time for everybody to level up, right? It's already been done. You know, spinners were cool 5 years ago. Everybody had a spinner, and now nobody does, right? Nobody cares, right? It's just one of those things like, all right, how to interface a contract, with your existing token. Oh, I know how to build off my token and create, some kind of thing, a staking contract that mints an NFT after an hour or something. Like anything that's like, use this contract, figure out the Legos, how they all work connected, and then using my DApp or my tool to help you do that. Now I'm like, okay. So it's like everybody needs to level up. If you're leveling up people, they're going to come. I think, and I think that's going to be really good for partnerships. It's going to be really good for builders, for debugging, because now we're working on something, right? Now we've had this token thing, and now we have to build a front end, and then we have this front end tool. Maybe it's WAGMI, maybe it's Rainbow, maybe it's Web3 React, whatever. And now we're figuring out different ways to use that tool with the different outlooks and maybe different styles. So I think that's what's going to bring back sharing screens and building projects, and then the DAO figuring out a way to reward those people that are building them, without too much spamming, right? How many tutorials have you seen how to mint your NFT contract or make an NFT marketplace over and over with the same blog? I don't need to see that anymore, right? Like it's just like next, right? They're not going to teach me anything. And I had written a guide that was really, really detailed, like with WAGMI. I call it the WAGMI kit that I wish I had. And I went into detail breaking down every function, every detail of how to build a Solidity contract, how to deploy it, how to verify it, then how to run a React script, and then connect it to the front end, get your API, all the way from A to B with deploying it, uploading it to Next. And I think like that tutorial has gotten me like the most DMs ever of like people saying thank you. This was a guide, saved me days, weeks, because I took it from A to Z, from like the blockchain, connecting it to the blockchain, to the front end, and like using the latest tools. It's already outdated because like WAGMI and they update like every 2 weeks with a new version. I'm like, I can't keep up with this, right? And I'm not getting paid. So and I made another tutorial with Tenderly, and why I kind of stopped was because I noticed people were taking my work and then copying it and then getting paid. So I'm like, nah, fuck that. So I kind of stopped with the tutorials, but I should probably do another one. But I want something of substance, not something that you've seen already, but something that people want to get. Everybody talked about flash loans, and you get all these flash loan tutorials, and everybody wants to know about DeFi, and they all stop at the same spot. It seems like one person's reading somebody else's content, and they copy it, reword it, and then they all stop at the same place. Do the swap, right? Do the swap on Uniswap, do the swap on Sushi or something, and then show me how you arbitrage. And then that, when you show something at the next level, that's going to get attention from people. And I think that's where we need to be. I think that's what people are hungry for, and that's what's going to champion it. Like right now, everybody's talking about account extraction, and that's literally the hackathon I'm working on right now. I'm using a couple tools. And the docs are horrible. I'm spending more time trying to like reverse engineer what they try to do than actually build. And that's so frustrating, right? Like I asked a question on the forum, I asked a question on Discord, and I'm just waiting to hear back. So right now I'm just literally just playing with old libraries to try to figure out what they did with this new library. And it's like, all right, it's almost like we need a DevRel as a service to like actually update people's docs and like do their job, right? And I have mixed feelings about it, right? Because I'm not going to give 100% to a company that's not investing in me, right? I'm going to do the bare minimum to do that. So there's a catch-22 on that, where you can do quality content, but what's going to incentivize me to keep it updated? I'm not part of the team, so I don't know what you guys are going to deploy. Then you're going to break that tutorial, and then I have to go relearn it, and then it's going to cost you. So it's like, does it make sense? There's a lot of things that you got to look forward to. But starter kits is a great way to get started, right? Like if I can just force something to deploy and have something to play with, then like, man, you're just saving me hours, days of frustration of like, here's the latest package. When you fork, download, install, boom. And that's really what I'm trying to push people. I'm trying to get the community doing that. Like if you got skills, if you got talent, let's see them, right? There's a lot of timid people and developers. Like they're not very social sometimes. And that's kind of why I like the social channels, because we kind of like, I don't want to say corrupt, but we make it really comfortable for a lot of people to like just talk shit, have a good laugh. Nobody has hurt feelings. we just have a good time, right? And there's definitely safe spaces. We have I think it's DevDAO Women, but I think they're doing a couple changes and migrating Women to 3. So again, a safe place as well, and they have their social outings as well with Social Fridays. So like, there's a place for everybody in this DAO. We just got to communicate that with everybody out there, and everybody that came for a little bit, got confused and left. And so we got to be able to reach out to those people and say, hey, we revamped the whole thing. We're changing our vibe. We're all about vibes again, but we're also about building. And if you really want to get into something deep and make some money, there are opportunities here, but you got to be a self-starter. No one's going to tell you what to do. You got to just own it, right? You got to own it, and you're got to be accountable for it, right? So if you do a job and you start and then you stop it, I'm going to call you out. I'm going to be like, hey, the community's been trying to use your stuff and it's not working. So are we going to sunset it, or are you going to build it, right? You just got a job somewhere and you're really busy, and that happens all the time. You start this project and it's good, and then that gets you a job, and then you kind of leave that baby project behind. It's like, all right, well, let's sunset it. It was a great project, but no one's maintaining it and no one wants to. It was a good project while it has, so if nobody wants to champion it, we got to get rid of it. And it was fun while it lasted. And that's going to be the approach that I want to communicate with. Like, if you want to contribute to DAO, that's awesome. But I got to know your name. You should know who I am. I'm the community, one of the community managers. So let's get talking. I love ideas. I love building. I love shipping. So let's do it. So that's
I'm about
what I'm all about.
No. So that's exactly what I want to touch on next. Is we all know you within Web3 and Developer DAO and just like everything in the crypto side, right? But now, if you can give like a little spiel about just everything you do outside of it, like I know you're super into, that's what we think about too, right? Getting to know who you are.
Well, it's so funny that in essence, some people compare me to Superman in a sense, where I have a double life because nobody knows the other life. But as crazy as it sounds, I used to do a lot of MMA and fight and I used to do jiu-jitsu for a really, really long time, 8-9 years. And,
so are there any clips that we can find on the internet?
I have to dig them up. That's
exciting.
There's definitely time, and it was really a hefty part of my life of I was really, I would say, unhealthy for a long time. So I got really fat, and it wasn't until I saw some pictures of myself on vacation, and I was like, oh hell no, I need to change my life around. So I have literally tried every diet in the book out there, from literally starving yourself to keto to Atkins to lemonade diet to South Beach diet to everything you could possibly think of. And I finally found my flow and understand how things work. And so I really value health and fitness. And so I work out. I mean, people don't know what I look like because I kind of hide behind the B. And then when they see me in person, they're like, what the fuck? Not what people
in person, you're jacked. You're jacked.
But yeah, and then it's kind of a weird thing because when I meet other people and talk dev talk, they mostly think I'm a crypto bro. Shut up. And then I start talking about libraries and deployments and shipping, and oh, this guy kind of knows what he's talking about. So it's such a weird a weird issue. But I mean, I love martial arts. Martial arts has always been something in my life that old school kung fu movies in the 90s. I used to stay up late and watch them. And then when I had my first opportunity to do martial arts, it just that's was an obsession for me on there. And it's I think I have a obsession thing, but it's kind of positive. You're a slave to something, either it's positive or negative. And it was healthy fitness and learning how to fight, because everybody that knows me in real life, or even some online stuff, I talk a lot of shit. So, I gotta be able to learn how to fight in order to back it up. So it's definitely another part of my life. I literally stopped coding for a moment to go to the gym and clear my mind, do something healthy for my body, because you can get so caught up in front of a computer, especially when you're in a good flow, and you all of a sudden you look up and 4 or 5 hours later and you didn't eat, or you didn't stay active, and then you just crash and you rinse and repeat, and over time your body just kind of deteriorates little by little by little. And so I gotta keep that fresh, and I gotta go out, I gotta socialize with people in real life, right? And then balancing family life is a whole other thing. It's a tough, running a business, having a family, trying to have your time. It's chaotic, right? You have to be really efficient, and I'm all about time saving and really optimizing my time. But yeah, if you see me, you know I'm into fighting. I think I've broken my nose a couple times, and so I could take a punch.
So
you have any
the one
beats,
that I have now is like,
here.
if you can pull out those videos, I'd love to see some videos of you kicking someone's ass. That'd be awesome.
I actually had a pretty good record. I for the jiu-jitsu tournaments, I always do open weight, so that means there's no limit to like what could do. So I weigh about 200 pounds. My first opponent that I've ever had in an open weight limit was 280 pounds. It was horrible, right? But I won. I was like, oh shit! it really gave me a lot of confidence that I could do this. You know, I was like, oh man, I have a chance. And I actually got to the semifinals on that. But everybody was like at least 260 and up. And if anybody's in wrestling, 10 pounds is a huge difference. 60 pounds is a very, very big difference. So when you're trying to move, it's like, oh man. But like it just like I've always been an underdog. Like so, it's like you got to have a little bit of fight in you. If it's coding, if it's working out, it's lifting, whatever, you have to have a little bit of that grind mentality. Otherwise, it's this space is not for you because you will burn out in this space. This is like a 24/7. Why wasn't it out shipped yesterday kind of place? And if you don't have that mental grind, it's tough. Everybody has different approaches, but this place will burn you out quick. And if you're not doing something healthy, if you're not eating right, and you're eating all these bad foods, you're going to feel depressed. You're going to feel slow, sluggish. This hackathon this weekend, it was in person, and they gave us bagels and pastas and just all this bad food that I don't normally eat. And I crashed. I didn't feel good. I crashed, went to sleep early, and I wasn't focused. And so that really showed me, like, in those 2 days, it really affects you. So, like, keeping that schedule and maintaining that fitness lifestyle and just getting out, getting some sun, it really, really helps. But, sometimes it's hard to wait. Like, I'm working with something, I got VC5 folk, shared screen, and we're on the roll. And I look at the time like, fuck, I gotta go. But, it's healthy for me. So that's what it is. But, yeah, if you look at me, you say, okay, that guy kind of works out, for the most part.
I can confirm that 100%. Yeah. Okay, so, Billy, honestly, it was so great chatting with you. You were absolutely spectacular to listen to, and not just from like everything you're talking about, but just like you sharing your story. So the whole time, and this is the other conclusion that I can draw from this is like you were clearly like an underdog throughout the whole time, but you always knew how to back it up, and that kind of goes back to this whole jiu-jitsu mentality you've always had of like, okay, I'm gonna train like hell. So if there's anything that I need to do next, like I'll know what to do because I've just spent so much time training with it. So it's clear to see like this pattern that you've always had. And then I remember one thing you told me too is like you're not like a robot, right? Like you can't just do everything for 8 hours straight every single day. You always like divide up your time. And so it's also clear that like, collectively you can do 8 hours of work within a whole week, but that will translate to more and better things than you like grinding for like a whole day of 8 hours. So honestly, it's just like things that like we've talked about is like all coming together in my head, at least from your story. So it's really cool. I'm super pumped to like at least get other people to like listen to your story now and like kind of resonate with everything you're doing.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I'll talk for days about all kinds of random stuff or shenanigans that I get into. It's just, I guess, man, it's just like I don't cry over spilled milk in a sense. I'm like, all right, let's clean up the milk and let's get another glass, and that's kind of been my attitude the whole thing. And it's like, devs, do better docs, man. Don't spill my milk. That's my shout out to everybody. And I'm hoping to create an initiative and like be a louder voice to just like, hey, like everybody says, oh, docs are a struggle. Let's not accept that, right? Like just let's clean them up. Contribute to the docs, right? Like everybody wants you to contribute to the docs, but the dev girl's getting paid. I'm not, so like, there's this catch 22 on that. But I'm hoping that we make some noise in Dev DAO and like, as Manny would say, let's make Dev DAO great again, right? To really get that where, we have a lot of representation. There's a lot of talent in Dev DAO. I see it. Like there's a lot of upcoming talent. There's a lot of people really making great connections in Developer DAO. And I want to see that like thrive. I want people to get their first job through Developer DAO. I want people to like come back and like share their knowledge of what they have. I don't want people to use it as leverage and then just take off. Come back, talk to your friends, tell us what's new, what's the alpha, right? Like everybody's here to like level up. So if you got some juice, there's a token drop coming, tell me. Change my life. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. I was so mad about the whole Abercom thing that took place. I was like, how did I miss it? Like, anyways, if only we knew.
ZK Sync, just an FYI, ZK Sync doesn't have a token yet, and they own it. If you donated through like Gitcoin, or if you bridged a token, that hasn't, they don't have a token, but they've confirmed they will have. So like, these are the kind of things that we want to know about. Like, so you gotta learn like what dApps or what apps can you use, right? Or what can you build? Yeah. That's more important. Like, let's shoot on ZK Sync, and then Polygon ZK EVM. What's new? We got definitely people in the DAO that work for Polygon. We got Manny, so I'm like, hey, what's the latest news? What can we build? Right? That's what I want. Right? Just in general conversation. Hey, we've been working on this. Why don't you guys try it out? And then all of a sudden, by deploying and doing these quests, all of a sudden we get airdrops. Like, we're changing people's lives by building, right? Instead of speculating, like, I deployed over here, I minted an NFT over there, and all of a sudden that gave me $100. That's awesome, for nothing. Yeah. So
makes a huge difference. Yeah. So to finish off, where can people find you? Where are you active? Yeah.
Probably Twitter. Twitter's my most. I've been really busy with these hackathons, so I haven't had a lot of time to talk a lot of shit on the internet yet. So unfortunately, after the hackathon, you're going to see full mode. But yeah, I have a very weird.
They're going to know your face now, so they're going to know your face. So
yeah. Oh well, I guess maybe. No. Judge me for my code. Don't judge me for my looks. But I have the oddest Twitter name. It's actually a name that I used out of frustration in college. But my Twitter handle is WC49358. I literally got mad because all the usernames were taken, and I just dropped my hand on the numpads and that keyboards in college, and like that's what came out. So I was like, fuck it, that's gonna be my username. And so like I used it for like all these like accounts, and like I made a Twitter account way back when, and so I just stuck with it. So like WC49358, or if you really want to look, it's Poppy Billy. The story on that one is like I had created an NFT project, like a nonprofit, like I paid to deploy it, and it was for some kids after the Hurricane Fiona. And so like in this Twitter space, I was like, oh yeah, we did all this stuff, and we donated to the kids, and I think we raised like $5,000 for them to like build the school.
Congrats. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was super cool. Thank you for everybody that minted out there. But as a joke, I was like, hey, everybody's calling me Papi Billy now, because of the Puerto Rican and like New York style, Mira Papi. And then all of a sudden everybody liked that joke, and then they created like this snapshot, and I was like, all right, we're gonna make him change his name. I'm like, wait, hold on. I kept it real, like changed my name, so like my Twitter name is Papi Billy on there, but everywhere else, like on Discord or Telegram, I am Billy Jitsu, and like Jiu-Jitsu, Billy Jitsu, so it's one of those nicknames I had. But you can find me on Twitter, Papi Billy, WC49358. I'm pretty chill. I'll talk shit. I'll roast you if you give me the chance. I will. But if you have like legit questions, I'm also answering those too. And I'm pretty accessible. Anybody shoots me a DM, I'm pretty quick in response. And like if I don't have an answer, I'll try to find you one.
Yeah. Okay. Sweet. Well, Billy, thank you so much for taking the time to chat. I'm super pumped to get everyone to give this a listen. This is honestly one of the best ones, just because of the complete brutal honesty and transparency that you were just like not hiding from anything, and that's what really will make a huge difference kind of going forward and making this place like better.
Yeah, definitely. We have to like call out the bad and call out the good, and like, all right, like let's not hide it. Let's just say, hey, we fucked up. Let's fix it. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, 100%. And just move forward, right? Get another glass and just keep going.
Yeah, exactly. This one's gonna taste sweeter because it's colder. Definitely. Awesome.
But yeah, sounds good. I'll see everyone soon.
All right. Peace.